quorum is present. We would like to welcome all our visitors. It's always nice to have people to come and see what's going on. So thank you for taking the time to come. So glad everyone's safe. I hope no one had damage. Please keep our neighbors Aberville in mind as we go through this. And I think DeKalb County, they were unfortunate and did have damage. So we're missing Councilman Carr because he is out destroying your electricity if you are without electricity. So please keep all those workers in your prayers. At this time, I would like to call on Councilman Whitaker to say the pledge and give the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for all the many blessings that you bless us with. Father, I pray for the mayor and the council. I pray that you give us knowledge and wisdom, discernment for each and every issue that comes before us. Father, we just thank you for all the blessings that you do for this community. Father, I pray for those that may have had damage. Father, I pray that there's no injuries or loss of life. Father, I pray that you'll watch over us as these storms come through. Father, I pray that you will watch over all the workers, the electric board, police, the firemen, all those first responders, public works that have to go out and clear our streets in these types of weather. Father, be with them. Bring them home safely to their families. Father, I pray for our nation tonight. I pray for our president from the highest authority to the lowest authority. I pray that you give them wisdom, that they seek your guidance in how to govern this nation. Father, I pray for our military scattered throughout the world. Father, that you'll keep them safe. Let them be successful in all that they do and bring them home safely to their families. Father, I pray as we leave here tonight that you'll see each and every one of us to our destination safely. We ask these things in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Copies of the minutes of the March 4th, 2013 regular meeting have been distributed to members of the council. Are there any corrections or additions to these minutes?
Motion that we approve.
Councilman Myers makes a motion to approve. Councilman Cornelius seconds the motion. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is a personnel report, and we do not have one tonight, so we will move right along. The next item is approval of engineering services for the airport. This is related to the development and design phase. This is for Barge, Wagner, Sumner, and Cannon. Grant, if you may want to come. Do you want to say anything, Grant, about this? Nothing like being put on the spot.
Thank you, Mayor. The airport grant was approved several months ago and budgeted for this year, and this is the first work order that Barge Wagner is submitting, and it's for surveying, design, and bid phase services.
The total of the work order is $321,000. The city's portion, which is 5%, is approximately $16,000. FAA and the state will fund the remaining amount. Councilman Cornelius makes a motion to approve.
Second.
Councilman Myers second the motion. Is there any discussion or any questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item on the agenda is the farmer's market ordinance. And based on what we're hearing from our constituents, the reseller issue has been a big issue, and that's probably going to require revisions where we will not be able to pass the ordinance tonight, but we would like to get discussion on this so that we can be sure we pass an ordinance that the people want. And at this time, I will call on Tank Connerly and Grover Williams from the Farmers Market Board. They can give a report, and then we can ask questions, and then if anyone would like to speak regarding the Farmers Market ordinance.
Mayor, as we've been discussing, back a year ago, the Farmers Market Board was tasked with streamlining and combining the ordinances and getting them in line with all the different rules and the components that were taking place at the time, which the Farmers Market Board worked until October on that, and then we were pulled out, and just recently started back meeting, and through the guidance of city councilmen and people that have been calling, there is a huge interest in allowing resellers back into the market. I think the general consensus with people in town is they just want the market to be back like it used to be. And to do that, we're going to have to allow resellers, but at the same time, what we need to do is have the ordinance have it where it's legal to do so. The old ordinance did not address resellers at all. The new ordinance that's been drafted does not either, but it's not going to take that much to go ahead and address that and get that streamlined. We're probably going to be delayed opening the market just because, we're kind of spread out meeting as a council, but I feel like this can be done in a relatively short period of time, and the clerical type things that we have to have where people can start applying. As a board, we can be working on that. So the board will be working with the city council, and hopefully we can get the new ordinance passed, and we'll be able to rock and roll just like the old market.
If we have significant revisions, the earliest we can pass it would be, I believe, April 1st is the first meeting,
And
first council meeting in
And
April.
given the time that crops start coming in for some of the farmers, I'm not a farmer, I'm just going off what I've been told. I don't think that's going to throw us that far behind.
Okay.
So I'm going to turn it over to Grover if he has anything to say. He's welcome to do that.
Thank you. And I realize most people that I hear from say, we just want the farmer's market back like it used to be, so.
But the only thing I could add to what Tank said is that the early crops, some of those early crops are in, but it's not going to affect the mainstay, I guess, of the market. So if the people want the resellers in there, now Tank said that the current ordinance did not address the resellers. Actually, Tank, yes, it did. It just said there would not be any, period. And so we need to address that directly. And if the people want that, and if the council wants that, we need to make that ordinance say that. And I think, like we've talked, all of us, there's a place for that, but it needs to be legal.
Absolutely. Councilman Whitaker, would you like to, I'm sure you'd like to say something.
Yes, ma'am. Councilman Carr and myself have met with the board, the last two meetings. Well, he's been there, he's there at every meeting, but I've been at the last two meetings trying to work out what the board wants, and a mixture of what I felt like that the council and the constituents that have been contacting me, that's been emailing the mayor, and she's forwarded on to us and stuff, is that we definitely want to a place. Now, I don't know the exact number, but we're probably looking at basically about a third of the slots possibly being for resellers, and the remainder being for the home growers. They would be separated, where all the resellers are in one section, all the home growers are in the other two sections, if it is divided that particular way. And where people know that if you go over here, it may not be homegrown fruits and vegetables, but it's at your choice, and it could be, but it may not be. But on the other hand, you'll be charged sales tax, because these people will be buying a business license, they'll be buying a state, city business license, state business license, paying their sales tax, and also paying their usage fees for the spot that they'll be occupying and stuff. So we have to keep that separate. Right now, we're still looking at it to be the farmer's market, and it still be at the same times and same days. And so they will coexist together. What I'm hearing from a lot of folks that have done a little of both in the past, even though it wasn't set up by ordinance to be that way, is that some farmers, once their crops start playing out, they still like to be able to, if they have customers still want to come to the market, they want to be able to supplement that. And other things is if you if you go to the market and you've got resellers there, you're probably gonna have stuff that's not being grown here, in these 7 or 8 counties, with Marshall County and attaching to Marshall County. So if you want a watermelon 4th of July, you're not gonna get it from a local grower. It'll have to come from South Alabama or wherever. So if you look at that, but if you're going to the market for that, I think they're saying that we'll sell more of our homegrown stuff because people are coming for both reasons. So I think it's gonna be a good mix, Mayor, once the council has a chance to go through and hopefully some more input from the board to make sure that we have fine-tuned everything that we want to touch on. And the hours will probably change. We'll have a definite opening time, and we'll have, probably a later closing time. Doesn't mean that you have to stay if you run out of produce, but if you have produce still there, just because it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and you still have another bushel of green beans you want to sell, doesn't mean you have to wait day after tomorrow to come back to the market. You could stay if you wanted to, buy what we're looking to propose now. So, quite a few changes, but not enough to keep it from our traditional farmers market.
Absolutely. Anyone else like to say something? Any other council? At this time, would anybody in the audience like to come regarding the farmer's market ordinance? If so, the only thing I ask is you please state your name and address. Anybody?
Hey, I have a question. Do we have an idea about how much the delay will be? Isn't April 1st the usual starting date?
It is the normal starting date, I believe, is that correct? It is the normal starting date, so the earliest, if we include these significant revisions, they're significant enough not to pass the ordinance tonight, because one, we don't have them in there, and so we will it be the next meeting, Jamie, that we can pass them?
With immediate consideration.
With immediate consideration. We could do it at the next meeting. If not, it would be 2 weeks after that. So, and I don't know how long it takes y'all from that point.
How long have you been working on this order?
A couple of weeks. We introduced it at the last meeting. And so we have to introduce it at a meeting and we carry it over to the next meeting. And because of the significant revisions from the Farmers Market Board and from the general public, we have decided that we want to make these revisions.
And I really think that if we have this all worked out by our next council meeting, that we will probably get a unanimous consent to suspend the rules, be able to vote on it to where it is, if it does pass, it'll pass April the 1st. Thank you. You're probably already putting people on the waiting list for their spots, their traditional ones.
Well, we have one that's left from last year, but we have not taken additional names yet, because we have not taken any applications, and I feel like that we're better off to get all of our ducks in a row. Let's get the ordinance passed, get everything done, and then open the market. Let's don't try to do anything temporary or anything like that. Let's get it where it's right, and then let's open the market and proceed.
And once we can pass an ordinance, then how long will it take you to be able to fill the spots and set a date for it to open?
Well, as we meet as a board and work on the forms and things, now we'll have 2 separate forms and stuff like that. And then we'll also have to educate our people down there for when people do come apply, to make sure that they're following the procedure that needs to be followed.
There is one thing that's changed. Before, we were sending out notices by mail to the previous people that had spots there. And it was highly suggested, recommended that we not do that we go by way of public service announcements, that people would apply for these spots rather than being invited. And there's a lot of reasons, legal reasons, that we don't want to go into right now. But if you invite somebody, then you've invited somebody. If you go PSA, then they come to you and want to participate. But one other thing before I shut up and get out of the way. We have made some physical improvements at the place too, and for the public and for the vendors, for safety reasons, and we've done a little asphalt work out there. We've got some drainage issues solved, so it's not tripping hazards anymore. We're making a connecting link now to the walking trail at the recommendation of some of the younger people that's pushing baby carriages on the weekend, can't come to the market, enjoying the trail, can't get up there. So
And
we're making those-
Kirkpatrick Concrete helped us with that, I believe.
Yes,
Give
they
them
should,
credit
it
for
was,
that.
that's right, it's, well, the city's out on the labor, but the materials were donated by Kirkpatrick and Kilpatrick, excuse me, I get it right in a minute. And so, anyway, there are some physical improvements, and we're looking forward to all that to happen soon. Thank you.
Any other questions? Then we will carry this over. We have not allowed to carry it over. No, we will carry this over to the next one, and hopefully we will be able to have everything lined up and vote on it, so we get the market open. It will be time. The next item is I'd like to entertain a motion to consider, skipping one. At this time, I'll call on Dwayne regarding the resolution to vacate an unnamed, undeveloped street located in between two pieces of privately owned property in the Lakewood subdivision. Sorry, Dwayne, I almost skipped right over you.
The subdivision is the subdivision across the street from Cherokee School. This property is on the lake side of Highway 79. All the lots front on Highway 79, between the last two lots, there's a street that was platted with the original subdivision, but it did not have a name put on it, and it was never developed. This street doesn't connect to the other streets in the subdivision, it just runs the length of these two lots and stops. So it serves no purpose, it's just there. Does not make any sense on why they put it there. If they platted it all the way through the other street, then you would say that's another entrance in the subdivision, but they didn't. So the person who owns the lots on both sides of this undeveloped street is the same person, and they're looking at a development for that parcel of land, and by vacating this street, it just makes it a more contiguous development.
No utilities there, now.
There's no utilities. There's a nice stand of pine trees.
And the street was never named.
Never named. We can find no record of it being named.
It's a street that goes nowhere, right?
This is the street to nowhere. Literally.
Mayor, I make a motion that we pass a resolution as stated. Second.
Councilman Whitaker makes a motion. Councilman Mosley seconds the motion. Is there any other question or discussion? At this time, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilman Stewart?
Yes.
Councilman Gillen?
Yes.
Councilman Carr? Sorry, he's absent. Councilman Mosley?
Yes.
Councilman Myers?
Yes.
Councilman Cornelius?
Yes.
Councilman Whitaker?
Yes.
Mayor Dollar?
Yes. The resolution is adopted. Next, I was getting ahead of myself. Next, we will entertain a motion to consider a special event liquor license for the Alabama Wildlife Federation's fundraiser at Gunnersville Civitan Park, 1419 Sunset Drive for May 11th, 2013. Councilman Cornelius makes a motion to approve.
Second.
Councilman Myers seconds the motion. Are there any questions or discussion? At this time, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilman Stewart?
Yes.
Councilman Gillen?
Yes.
Councilman Mosley?
Yes.
Councilman Myers?
Yes.
Councilman Cornelius?
Yes.
Councilman Whitaker?
Abstain.
Mayor Dollar?
Yes. Next on the agenda is somewhere in Morris Thurman. I think there was a little bit of confusion thinking this was regarding the outdoor concerts, but this is to set a public hearing to expand the liquor license area to include the parking lot and a pier deck dock. It's the best way I know to describe it. We do have a picture, if I can get to it, of the area.
Morris, we were, in a pre-council meeting, we were we were a little, confused. We do have a drawing here. I know you don't.
Morris, you may want to come to the podium just so we can hear, so they can ask questions.
A few questions. What the concern was, now, really, what you're really going to do is just extend some of your dining and beverage areas to the pier itself. Is that kind of
That
correct?
is correct.
Okay. And the question came up is you see the dark shaded area here, is that it's got your back parking lot and stuff. The deck makes more sense if you take in the whole parking lot, and you're gonna have a lot of additional parking. You may have to have some additional parking anyway, but because you're doing it on a pier, you've got some boat slip parking that's gonna help you as far as with our ordinances that way and stuff. But, so if you're looking just to, maybe put tables and serve out on the pier, makes more sense than if you're gonna set tables up in the parking lot, because what that does by ordinance, it gives you more square footage for patrons to be there. The more square footage and the seating places that you have is the more parking places you have to have. That's just the way we're set up. And that's the way the state is also, I think.
Well, the table that's sitting there would be on the wooden pier / dock. It was our understanding through the ABC that you have to encompass the entire parking lot because the permit extension states parking lot, it doesn't state X number or square footage of parking lot. That's just the way they do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So we're not going to set the tables and chairs in the parking lot.
Okay, and that was the question
Yeah,
that.
the
that
parking
came-
lot, the parking lot change.
Okay, all right. And, yeah, that was, I think that was the biggest question we had out there. Was
Okay, yeah.
if you were gonna set up, an area in the parking lot, then Dwayne Elder from the building inspector's office would need to know how many parking places you're gonna have to have. or
The
whatever.
parking lot change. And I
Okay. You'll
think it-
still have to do a study on your pier square footage for the additional parking, and what you've got inside the building too, to make sure it fits, with the ordinance. But I think there's always ways that we could probably help with this, with some additional parking, even outside this black area or whatever.
We do have additional parking outside that area. If you'll recall, I furnished y'all a letter where we've made arrangements with the boat mart to take their property next door for parking also.
Yeah, but that's on a special event. This would be on, see, they have to have a certain amount of parking for their business.
So we only take it when they're closed and it's where they have both parked in the grass area.
Yeah, I understand that, but I don't know if our ordinance covers it that way. That's why I'm saying we're probably gonna have to have more discussion. I've asked Dwayne Elder if he would, to kind of school us on what you're wanting to do. I think it's a great idea, don't get me wrong. But we just wanna make sure that it fits the ordinances and that we can make everything, right with the laws of the city of Gunnersville. If not, we're gonna have other businesses that are gonna be complaining about it. So that was one question that we had.
And then the noise ordinance would cover this area, as you're well aware that
Yes, ma'am.
we have talked about if you do have music outside and we expand the area, you would be subject to, I believe it's 70 decibels, sustained decibels. Is that the correct terminology? I'm learning.
But basically, Morris, this is leading up to your outside concerts, is that correct?
Well, hopefully, but we want to open the day. We want to have the ability to have some outside patio area for people that want to come by boat or people that want to be out in the sun. So primarily, our interest right now is open the day.
Okay.
And
Now,
if it were an outdoor concert, he would have to come to us for a special event permit.
I can't do it.
I know that, if you were gonna extend it out for people to have an outdoor concert, then I know what you said at the last meeting, that, Eric's gonna let you have parking over at the boat mart. in the field.
Right.
I think some of the confusion comes in when, because the extension of the liquor license to get into the pier has to be inclusive of this building. So the imaginary lines you see drawn here are just what the state requires for him to be able to take in the patio. It has to be connected.
Yeah, it's just an extension of everything.
And we've kind of got two separate issues going on, and I think this is where there's been some confusion as
Yes, ma'am. I agree.
we've tried to combine the two, but they're two totally separate issues. One is the expansion of the liquor license that includes basically the beer, deck, not whatever you want to call it. And then the separate issue would be the outdoor concerts that, because they would exceed the noise ordinance, would have to come before the council
Right,
for approval.
yes. All we're interested in now is the dollar. Those bids.
And one other thing, Morris, now, we want to make sure that we're trying our best to work with you on some of the new things that you're wanting to do with us. Let's just make sure that taxes are paid on time, and services that the city, does are paid on time and stuff, because they haven't been on a timely basis in the past, and
I think you'll find a letter that was submitted by the RDS that said we work hard.
I'm talking about your garbage collection.
Well, we're on A-Route Water, and I personally delivered a check to them because we didn't know we were behind.
Okay.
So we're putting that on automatic draft because we didn't get a bill in a timely fashion. And so I think that there was some misinformation given somewhere because I dug into it very hard.
Okay.
And we pay our bills on a timely manner.
Right.
always.
That's what I'm hoping, because we're trying to work with you.
Well, you rest assured it will happen.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Thurman?
I just have one. You've been to the state, ABC, and requested this, and
Yes.
you don't have a problem with it? With
No,
the
they
extension,
just need a letter from the city council stating that y'all are okay with it.
once you've got an extension, then you approve.
Yes. Yes, I'm not sure of the timetable of all that, but that is the case, yes, sir.
And the letter from us is council approval. That was one of the things, we have to
Yeah, I
actually
think you
know.
mentioned something about the council approval last time.
But at this time, we would just like to set a public hearing for April the 1st. We can set it, Angie.
Morris, do you have an estimate of how many tables are going to have on the deck?
You know, we were kind of gonna play that by ear. There's a thin line of putting too many and not enough, Unfortunately, in this area, good help is very hard to find. So we don't wanna have so many tables we can't, accommodate people. So we're gonna kind of play that by ear, but I'm thinking probably starting out eight or 10, something like that. I think the deck is, I measured the other day, I think it's 176 foot long and 30 or 35 feet wide. So it would not encompass the entire thing, so
Mayor, I make a motion that we set the public hearing.
Councilman Myers makes a motion to
Second.
set the public hearing on April the 1st, 2013. Councilman Mosley seconds the motion. Is there any other discussion or questions? If not, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilman Stewart,
Yes.
Councilman Gillen,
Yes.
Councilman Mosley,
Yes.
Councilman Myers,
Yes.
Councilman Cornelius, Councilman Whitaker,
Yes.
Mayor Dodd.
Yes. Next, we would like to call on Bill Greenhall. He's going to give us a little report on an airport museum.
Thank you, Mayor Dowling, council. Okay, this is a museum we're proposing to establish in Gunnersville, and we have called it the Homer B. Wilson Jr. Vintage Museum. All the initial exhibits that we will have will be loaned to the museum by the Wilson family, so that shows the name. The exhibits include airplanes, cars. Mr. Wilson was quite a collector.
and got some tractors, and he has quite a library of books and other documents that's appropriate for museum material. So we'll include those also. We also already have the exhibits, they're available, and they're museum quality, and we can use them whenever we open a museum. And we already have the facilities, so there won't be any initial money that will be required for facilities to start the museum. And right now we're seeking support from the city of Gunnersville so we can move forward with the museum effort. The exhibits that we have, right now we have 8 airplanes. One of them is manufactured in 1929. We have 3 that was World War II airplanes. One World War I replica that was acquired from the Frank Ryder Museum when we was there before. And then we have 3 that was post-war manufactured, just barely, but that's when it was done. That's a slide of the bi-wing airplanes. We have a Stearman and a Waco, 2 Stearman Waco, and a Travel Air. Travel Air is 1929 model. And all of these airplanes have significant history to them or stories, and some of them are very significant to the state of Alabama. The 41 Stearman was used by the Tuskegee Airmen as a trainer. So a lot of the museums would like to have it. We'd rather have our own museum and keep it for ourselves. So the people who knew Mr. Wilson would be able to enjoy the exhibits. And when they see the exhibits, they would know who had owned them before. The other airplanes are, we've got a J-3 Piper Cub, famous Cub. And then we have a Veronica Champ that came along about the same time. And the air crew, all 3 of those are 1946 model airplanes. And then we have a Sopwith Tri-Wing. It's a replica, but it's a World War I replica that we acquired from the Brill Museum. If anybody has any questions on any of the exhibits or any other portion of the museum, feel free to ask.
These planes fly?
All of the planes will fly, except for maybe the Tri-Wing. I haven't flown the Tri-Wing, and it hasn't been started in years and years, so I'm not sure if it will fly or not. But all the others are in flyable condition. I've flown all of them except the Travel Air. Mr. Wilson wanted to be the first person to fly the Travel Air, so he kept the rest of us out of it until he could fly it, but his health got bad and he became ill and he was never able to fly it. So the Travel Air hasn't flown in several years, 3 or 4 years, but it has essentially a new engine and it is flying.
Sir, the last sentence you had says need support from the city of Gunnersville to accomplish the goal. What support are you talking about?
We intend to operate under the laws of IRS laws, 51C3, 501C3. I've got my numbers mixed up, sorry. 501C3. And there are grants available that we can compete for if we have that status. So if the city is willing to support the museum idea and we can use, since the city is a government entity, if we can use their 501c3 status to go out and start competing for grants that are out there and for the initial grants, that would be a support that we would need. And we will need support from the city. If the city is not behind us, then we will never succeed as a museum. So,
How are you planning on staffing? Is that something y'all are looking at doing at the airport itself as far as volunteers or what's
our staffing plan at this time would consist maybe of 1 full-time person and then some part-time staff.
And Randy, just to, excuse me for interjecting, but to interject, right now, as tomorrow is a prime example, the Mayor's Youth Council is going to be coming down to the airport. And because of the availability of these aircraft, we're going to give just a brief tour of it then. We use this kind of as, and have used it for the past 3 years as a draw to the airport. It's really helped us out as far as growing our business and getting a lot of talk across the different message boards and whatnot on the internet, as well as some of the more famous museums in the country are starting to recognize us being there. Southern Museum of Flight being one of those.
And I was one of the ones, I thought it already was kind of a museum. I think it's in the old Ryder hangar.
Yes.
And it's been kind of touted as a museum, but I think it's not been as functioning. And I think this group wants to go after grants and to keep it up. I don't know that they're necessarily asking us for financial support. They just-
No, we were planning to fund the museum staff out of grant money we received from grants. So depending on how successful we are, what kind of staff we have. But we think with the grants that are out there available that we can compete for, if we're successful, then we can have one full-time person and then as the staff of part-time people to keep the museum going. Do the maintenance on the airplane and maintenance on the buildings, maybe. We have to do buildings.
Now, the hangar itself, is that one that the city bought? There, we bought some,
They are controlled by the city.
They're controlled by the city.
There was a time, we set a time,
right,
time frame, and at the end of that time frame, it became property.
I think it's a great idea.
I do too. I think what the councilman and what we're trying to do is just to have an understanding of, are there any financial obligations on behalf of the city that we need to be aware of moving forward? I think that's what we're trying to get to.
They're not at this time. Basically, what we're trying to, or city supports we're trying to go for is, and Beth Dean has kind of coerced me in this a little bit, but knowing what she knows about grants, has said that we can go out, she knows of grants that we can go after, that are educational grants, which would be one of the primary purposes of the museum, but as the entity of the airport, city of Gunnersville.
And I think this group is just coming to us to see if we really, do we want a museum? You know, if we have no interest in it and promoting this aspect of aviation, then, you know.
I think it's great. I think it's great.
I got a question for you.
Okay.
Are you expecting any additional plane, expansion or planes coming in or equipment, or do you have room for it?
At this point in time, we're hoping that we can draw others. We've been approached by at least one person that has a plane that fits the type of planes that we have, and he's wanting to loan it to the museum. I don't know if that will come through or not, but we're hoping that. And we've had a couple of other inquiries, you know, of people who have planes that they would consider loaning to the museum. At this point in time, we can accommodate all that we have and all that we hope. For the next slide. For the cars and tractors, we would need the room that's now being used to store Christmas lights and other articles of the city. So that room we would like to get for the cars and the tractors. And we could establish the libraries. We've got room for that in another area that we call the maintenance hangar. But this is one that the hangar's already there, and it's and part of the city airplanes will be there, or could be there. We are now.
And these hangars will remain after the new airport.
Correct.
It will not be torn down, so this hangar will still be where it is.
Yeah.
How much for the, it sounds like we need to move some things at Christmas.
Possibly,
How much square footage are we talking?
it's about 3,000 square feet. And it's something that the city was planning on moving out of there anyways, with what's going down here in, Grant, you may have to help me with the terminology of water project warehouse. development, harbor area. It's the Christmas decorations, the tree frames and the reindeer and whatnot go on. They got put there temporarily while there was some refurbishment going on with some other buildings.
Mike, do we have places, Mike Bush, do we have places for some of those to go? Mike Bush.
I think we're still looking for some room for those.
Do you have other possible places for storage, is what they're talking about? You may not right now, maybe something we have to think about. But I don't guess we have to run before we crawl or walk, either one, as far as room goes.
We can always find a place if that's what you all see that we need to do. Yeah.
We're assessing all our buildings and kind of see what we got available.
We'll make arrangements.
I don't know that we can move them tomorrow, but over time, I mean, by the time they would need it, I think.
Yeah,
we would need
they would have to be that soon.
And again, this is a work in progress. We do have, if things take off the way we dream and hope that they will with it, we have a 5-year plan, and it's much more expanded than just this, and will flow along with the airport expansion. But I'd rather not get into all that until we find out if this is going to take off. I don't want to build up too many hopes.
In summary, our goal is to establish an educational museum in Gartsville. And as I mentioned before, we have the exhibits to start the museum. Mr. Wilson has a big supply of aviation books, I know, and possibly others of interest to the museum, so we can go through those. And the Wilson family is agreeable, you know, if we can use it in the museum, they're agreeable to loan it to us for that purpose. The facilities are there, and so we won't have to build anything new to get started. We may have to do a modification, we may have to put another door somewhere, but that would be about the extent of the modifications that we have to do. So basically, we just need support from the city and agreement from the city that this would be a good thing to have in the city of Garland.
Are there any other questions?
Mayor, I think it's a good idea for however we need to do that, if it's a form of a letter or how exactly that's to be done, but I would like to see these people have an opportunity to see what they can do grant-wise and start the museum.
And it may just be a use agreement, or, I'm not real sure, we'll get with our
City attorneys
city attorneys and figure out exactly.
We need to find out what exactly they need, what we're doing, what kind of status they need to have, and get together on it.
Okay.
Mayor, I would just say, I love machinery. I like tractors, I like airplanes, I've driven both. I know that it requires maintenance just to keep them from looking bad, whether they're operational or not. And is that, I'm sure that's factored into the,
Yes,
plan.
we're factored in the cost of the insurance, which is substantial. And the cost of maintenance, which is not as substantial as the insurance, but still it is a expenditure that has been factored in. And the staff that we will need to show the public or the attendees and the collect funds that we get for the tours. So all that has been factored in that we plan to fund out of grant money.
Has there been any discussion about, since you do have airworthy aircraft, conducting tours or joy rides or things of that nature?
We could do that and raise money for the city. We just have to make sure that we're covered under insurance before we do
I
it.
would think that would be a great way to, fund the
We've
promotion
done-
of the museum.
And these planes have also been used as prizes for different rotary functions up in Albertville over the last year.
Thanks for the idea.
When
I just wanted to know if they ran, I don't want the
take a ride.
Councilman Myers is the first volunteer.
I just wanted to make sure they was operational. So please don't take it that I want to take a ride.
George said
They run very well.
No, it's not right with George.
And most of them are legal to ride in today, but the open cockpit, it's been a little too cool.
That's good. They look good. They look good in a building.
They have current angles and they're considered legal by the FAA to fly, and we fly them, we take them. And
Great.
the last time we flew the Stearman, we flew both Stearman when General Dunwoody retired from Redstone. She was a four-star general. And we flew the Stearman at her retirement ceremony. One of the Stearman is painted up in the old Army Air Corps colors because there wasn't an Air Force during World War II. They were just part of the Army. The other Stearman is painted in Navy colors. I'm not sure it was a Navy Stearman kind, but that's the colors it's painted in now. It's painted up as a Navy trainer. But both of those are flyable. They're inannual, and we use them for special events. We've used them for a Memorial Day event a couple of years ago. So
The last two 4th of Julys as well.
yeah, and for both 4th of Julys. So they're flyable, and we fly them.
I think what you need to do, what I recommend for you to do is get with a director at the airport and find out what kind of building is going to be available or is available. And then let him contact either the mayor or the city attorney and pull up some kind of agreement between us.
Right now, we have two buildings leased, I think for 10 years. We've had 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, Mr. Wilson had 2 of the buildings leased for 10 years. Well, they had all the space that we.
Until 2019.
Yeah, he had all the space that leased the 2000, or he had 10-year lease on all the space that we intended to use initially.
Okay.
So they're there and they're ready to use, and the Wilson family is agreeable for us to use them for that purpose.
If you haven't been out to see them, I encourage you to go out and see them.
Do the cars, do they ruin?
Some of them do.
I just
I
wondered,
can't,
George and I could maybe drag race down the strip or something.
You may can.
A Mustang and a Camaro.
One of the ones we showed was a Cadillac convertible. Now, I know it runs, but it leaks when it rains, so make it on a sunny day.
Sounds like you got fundraisers in the making over here.
We have
You're getting all kind of ideas of how to make money.
we have a model for the rumble seat. It's just like the Georgia Tech A model. Mr. Wilson was a graduate of Georgia Tech. And anyway, it runs. So, 2-seater with a rumble seat, you can carry a couple more back there. And A model sedan, he has it runs. So we know that those run, and we didn't have those in the photos because they're locked up in the building and we didn't have a key. So,
You know, I thought too, as far as fundraisers come, as you're looking for grant money, too, with car shows, as the weather starts changing and you've got some cars there you sell the size of airplanes for attractive people, you can, charge admission to those that are showing their cars off and stuff, and let the public come out and look at those plus the airplanes and get some interest started that way.
or we could possibly even take a couple of them to the local car shows and some of the local aviation events. And they have local tractor shows too, so we could possibly take, we had thought about maybe taking some of those and display them at the local shows to draw attention to the museum.
What I'd like to see is you bring them to the airport, bring them to town,
Yeah,
our town.
and we can do that.
Families already said they would like to get cars and all of it.
I'd pay to see that drag race. From Randy George.
Anything else?
I'm gonna get a Cadillac convertible, we got it.
We'll open it up for the public just a moment. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
We
sir.
appreciate your
Thank you
time.
for your work.
At this time, I don't know if there's anyone here from the Red Cross. I'm afraid they're probably inevitable working, but we would like to proclaim American Red Cross Month, March 2013. Whereas March is American Red Cross Month, a special time to recognize and thank our heroes, those who volunteer, donate blood, take life-saving courses, or provide financial donations to support an organization whose mission is to help those in need. And this does include working tireless hours when a disaster strikes. I'm not going to read the entire thing to you, but now therefore be it resolved that I, Lee Dollar, Mayor of the City of Guntersville, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and laws of Guntersville and Alabama, hereby proclaim March 2013 as American Red Cross Month. I encourage all Americans to support this organization and its noble humanitarian mission. And we will, if the Red Cross would like to come to the next one, if they've been working this tornado, we will present this in public to them. Now, at this time, I would like to open the floor up to the public. I ask that you please come to the podium, state your name and address.
Bob Martin, President of Spearmint Aircraft Association. I just want to advise the council that we have made great progress towards getting the aviation center up and going to do a lot more events. At our meeting last week, we appropriated the money to set up our video display system, computer, and all that, so we can start having various type of aviation sessions there other than our regular meetings. We'd like to have something maybe once a week where we're going to invite the public to see various types of videos. Spearmint Aircraft Association at national level puts out a lot of webinars on various safety issues or other operational things. And we're in contact with the high school now to try to get their science students interested to come out and see some of our events. So I think this ties in with the museum, what we're trying to do, because we've got a lot of things that we can put in the aviation center also. We're hoping to put some models that hang from the ceiling if we can find them. If we know where some are, if we can just get our whole hands on them. But that won't be part of the museum itself, but it can be, I think, an added feature, especially for some events that we have there. So I just want to let you know that we are moving forward with doing what we said we were going to do for the aviation center. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin, for your time. Next.
My name is Craig Cornwell, and I'm Vice President of Cornwell Recreation, which runs Riverview Campground right down Challaquee Road, past Mr. Kimmer's Lighthouse. I just wanted to share in support of the motion. We had the best experience, I think it was Memorial Day. Mr. Wilson was still alive, and the flyover, which we had some out-of-towners at our campground from Texas, and just had the best day on the lake watching the flyover, and it's exciting to see this collection coming back to it.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, I'm Roy Bryant. I live at 214 Brown Street Road, about 2/10 of a mile from somewhere. And first I'd like to thank the city of Guntersville for the consideration that's been given to residents in these noise problem areas. When Boondocks had the location, they used to have live music events and karaoke. And they literally kept us up late at night, several nights, and I got to the point where I memorized the city police department phone number and Boondocks' phone number, trying to work through the noise situation. We were told the music source was inside then, but it was a screen wire, so it really was outside. When you have a humid summer evening, that sound's going to carry through the house. And I personally don't see how to keep it underneath the 70 decibel limit if they put music outside and have an event. When you start talking about having something from 4 o'clock in the evening to 11 o'clock in the evening for 7 hours, that really gets to be untenable. And I'd like the council to consider the noise issue that we'll have, and not issue permits for events like that.
Thank you. Now I just want to be sure we're correct, Roy. It has been that the noise.
Oh, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that.
I just want to be sure that we.
I looked, there for a while, I was actually keeping a log of how many times things happened. And the last real event that I had is back in 2006.
Okay.
So it's, or maybe, sorry, 2007, 6 years ago, this September. So it's been much better since it was moved inside. And the city, I believe, the city engineer and the council worked with them, and they ended up enclosing the walls and insulating. And once they did that, we really haven't had an incident for, I said, 6 years or so. And that's been good. What I hate to see is it open back up outside, because I guarantee you it's going to be loud for that duration of time. And we could literally hear the music inside our house to the point where we understood the words, and you try to lay there and try to go to sleep, it's difficult. That's on one end of the house. At any rate, it's much better now than it used to be.
Roy, if I may clarify a couple of things for you.
All right.
Hopefully this helps. The extension we're talking about right now is just for the patio. And we actually, we had some of the council, the mayor, and our city attorney come out for a sound check for what he's planning on doing outside on that patio on 2 different occasions, just because we want to make sure the wind factor and some of those things. He was actually, with what he's proposing to do on the patio, was under the sound ordinance. So the system was set up and it was under the sound ordinance. His intention, and this is what he's told me, is that he's not intending to put live bands out on the patio. He's going to keep his live bands inside. He may occasionally have an acoustic guitar or something like that, or just music playing over a system for the patio. But nothing, and again, it will be governed by our sound ordinance, which we did not have in effect back when you had the issues way back when. So just for clarification.
Okay, so you're saying acoustical guitar and maybe just a speaker out there for music that's not cranked up. You're not talking about an outdoor concert.
For what we're considering today, if he has an outdoor concert later down the road, he has to come before the city council for a special events license.
I understood that, and while I didn't understand before the meeting what his purpose was to come talk to you, I thought it was a follow-on for the outdoor concert. I wanted to be here to hear what was going on. And I guess I'll make it a hobby to come to the city council meeting for a while.
You're welcome.
And if he comes to us for a special event license, if I understand correctly, you can get 4 of those per year. So it would not be every weekend, it would just be 4 different times a year.
So there's a limit on those that the city has in its current ordinances?
Don't hold me to it, but I think that's correct.
I have not researched that, but I believe so.
I believe Dan told me that, so like I said, please don't hold me to it, but we can get that number, and I think it is just 4 per year,
Well,
so.
Even, that would be better than every Friday night.
No, it will not, every Friday night would be subject to the sound ordinance. You can only 4 times a year go above the sound ordinance with permission.
But even 4 times a year to have something going from 4 o'clock till 11 o'clock.
Well, that's what, they would have to come to us and give us the hours, and we would apply we would approve one at a time before we'd see how one works before we, did that, if all the conditions were acceptable to us.
Okay. I'll still make it a hobby.
That's okay. Hey, we'd love to have you.
Roy, where exactly do you live over there?
Brown Street Road, you go across the causeway, take the first right, and we're at 214. So we're just under, about 2/10 of a mile from somewhere.
So you're right past the marina.
You got the Belongs Marina, then you got the Sailboat Marina,
Right,
and we're the 3rd residential lot.
Okay, all right. So yeah, you're gonna be pretty close, and depending on, and you're right there on the lake, so
Yes, yes.
depends on how they face that music, whether.
Yeah, maybe, Randy, I can appreciate turning the speaker away from a little bit, but, back the speaker still vibrates, and the sound emanates all around, and it's, on a humid summer night, it's gonna do it.
I wasn't one of them that went out to do the sound test, but my understanding that the car noise was louder than the noise he was actually proposing out there at the time. Now, I know that's gonna change from time to time, but, just to give you what information we have today.
Right.
That's what.
Well, and from the experience we've had, as the evening wears on and the alcohol flows, the volume goes up, and the response from the customer, from the the facility goes down. So, you can appreciate the frustrations we would have. And again, Boondocks would run at 1 o'clock in the morning. And it was to the point, especially when you had some of the words to some of the songs weren't exactly family-oriented. And it's an issue for me. I don't want to speak for somebody else, but the folks who come there on the civil marina, sometimes they camp over the weekend, and they have no protection. I mean, they're really close to them. And sometimes those families out there, and they get minor children listening to us. So that was pretty offensive for those. So.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Mary Ruth McCord, and I live at 1721 Sunset Drive in Gunnersville. I would just like to emphasize a little bit on what Roy has said. In the past, in the summer, I have called the Gunnersville Police Department, before Boondocks enclosed their entertainment section, I have called the Gunnersville Police Department because I have heard music and words over 2 miles away from Boondocks. And I would just like to encourage the city council to really enforce the noise ordinance that they have in place, and to please keep all the residents in mind. It's not just the Browns Creek people, we hear it on Sunset Drive also. Thank you.
Have you had any problems lately?
Not lately, no ma'am.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Move to adjourn.
Councilman Gillen makes a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Councilman Myers, second. All in favor?
Aye.